How are we doing, everyone? What we're going to look at today is the more complex solutions or complex steps in solving multi-step equations. So now it's going to be one where we're actually looking at more than 3 steps. So we have to identify where our variable is, and then we'll go from there. So the first thing I see in this problem is, first of all, identify where or what side of the equation is our variable on. In this case, I'm going to draw this guy. That vertical line there signifying our equal sign. I see our variable is on the right side, and we're looking at the variable r in this case. And the tricky thing here is we actually have more than one step to compute. So the first thing we're going to do, what I see first is this right here. If I take everything else out of the problem, I see that in front of me is actually a distributive property problem. I also see this plus 3 next to it, but what we have to notice with this plus 3 is this is also 3 times the entire quantity r minus 4. So a very common mistake is actually distributing this 2 first and then adding 3 to it. But we know actually what's happening here, this is a positive 3, and we actually have 2 distributive property problems to do first. So that's what we're going to take care of. First thing that I'm going to do is distribute in both of those little problems right there. So I'm going to do them individually. First thing I'm going to distribute is this positive 2. I'm going to do 2 times 1, which is, we know it's 2. So I'm just going to drop the 2 down. And then 2 times that positive 6r, which we know is 12r. Positive 12r. Now, the second one over here, I see another distributive property problem, and I'm going to be distributing this positive 3 to both r, and that is a negative 4. We have to attribute that sign to it. So I have that positive 3 times r, which is a positive 3r. I'm going to write in the plus 3r. And then positive 3 times negative 4 is actually negative 12. So I just write it in as negative 12. And what did not change was this positive 20. I didn't have to worry about that because there's nothing else on that side, so I can just drop that down. So that was step 1. Step 1 was identify the variable, and then we actually went through and distributed. Step 2 is now, if you see on this side, we actually have some like terms up here. My pen will work, that'd be great. And I have a positive 12r and also a positive 3r. Those are like terms because they both have the same variable and it's to the same exponent. And in this case, I have a positive 12 and a positive 3, which means we have a positive 15r. So I'm just going to write that in. Furthermore, we also have this positive 2 and negative 12. And notice again, when we're combining like terms, we go through and we give it a different shape. So we're going to circle it here. And I know I have different signs, so I have a positive and a negative, so different signs. I'm going to subtract. I'm going to take 12 minus 2, which is 10. And because this was higher, the 12 was higher and negative, this should be a negative 10. And again, the 20 is not changing, so I'm just going to write that in. From here, now it's a 2-step equation that we all know how to solve. In this case, get the 15r alone by adding 10 to the negative 10 and to the other side with that 20. And we know to do that because this negative 10 plus 10 is 0. So I just have my 15r alone. That's good. And now 20 plus 10 is 30. Last thing to do here, we want to get 1r. This is a 15 times r. So that means we have to divide by 15. And this is something that we already know how to do. And then 15 divided by 15 is 1. So we actually got that 1r. And now it's 30 divided by 15, which is 2. So now we have the check to the side over here. So I'm going to substitute in this r. Every time I see r, I'm going to substitute in a 2. So I have 20 is equal to 2 times 1 plus 6 times 2, and then plus 3 times 2 minus 4. I don't have to write in the 1 times 2 because we already know that 2 times 1 is 1. So over here, I do need to write that in because I'm actually going to evaluate 6 times 2. Okay? So order of operations says we have to take care of our parentheses first. So I'm going to do one thing inside each parenthesis first. So this is 2 times 1 plus in here, 6 times 2 is 12. And then plus 3, and I can actually compute 2 minus 4, which we know is a negative 2. Again, we're going to compute one thing at a time. So I'm going to take the 20 right here. The 2 I'm not going to change, and then inside the parentheses here, 1 plus 12 is 13. And then I'm actually going to compute 3 times negative 2, which is negative 6. Lastly, right here, I have a 20 is equal to 2 times 13. If you just double 13, you're at 26 minus 6. And then actually, 26 minus 6 is 20. So that checks out. Therefore, our answer here is correct. Okay, guys, before we get going on this next one, your code word for today is distribute, just like that distributive property that we use. So that is your code word. That's what you're going to type in for your Google form. All right, now, again, first, we have to identify where our variable is. Is it left side, right side? In this case, it's actually on the left side. So we have a lot of stuff going on here, and here's what I like to do first. I see a negative 4k alone. I see a positive 3k on the same side. I could combine like terms if I wanted to right away. But what I see again is this distributive property problem right in the middle of our equation. So actually that's what I'm going to do first. And a lot of times we look to distribute first. So if you can distribute, do it first. That's something that we're actually going to work with. So I'm going to take this positive 2 and I'm going to multiply it by both the 5k and the negative 6. Let me drop that down because I lost it. And therefore I have negative 4k is not changing, so I'm just going to drop it in. And then 2 times that 5k gives me a positive 10k. 2 times that negative 6 is a negative 12. And then I didn't change the 3k, so I'm going to drop that guy in. I didn't change the negative 39, so that guy gets dropped in as well. From here, and this is why I probably like to distribute first, after you've distributed, then we kind of go through and we see, can we combine like terms? And this is a lot easier for me because I see that I have 3 like terms up here. I have a negative 4k, I have a positive 10k, and I have a positive 3k. I can combine that all at once. It makes it a lot easier to combine that all at once. So I'm going to combine my like terms, which in this case, I'm going to do this pretty quickly in my head. And in this case, I have a negative and a positive 10k, which is, we know, is a 6k. I'll just write that on the side here. Now, you don't have to write this step out if you can do it quicker in your head. If you want to write it down as 6k minus 12 plus 3k is equal to negative 39, that's fine. And then go through and combine again to make sure that you're correct. Some of us can actually do that a lot quicker in our head. So we can do the 6k right here. And then we can go through and add the 3k into it, which is 9k. And notice that negative 12 does not have a like term on that side, so it just drops in the entire way down. From here, add 12 to both sides because we want to get that 9k alone and by itself. So therefore, 9k drops in because negative 12 plus 12 is 0. And now I have negative 39 plus 12, which we already know is going to be negative, and then just subtract them. So then 39 minus 12 is 27, so therefore it's negative 27. Last thing, divide by 9 to get the k to be 1k. So then k is equal to negative 27 divided by 9 is negative 3. Okay, so now we're going to go through the check on this. We're going to substitute in this negative 3 every time we see that k. So I have negative 4 times that negative 3 plus 2 times the quantity 5 times negative 3. And I'll use another parenthesis inside this parenthesis just to make it a little bit easier. And then plus 3 times negative 3 again should equal negative 39. Okay? So now when we go through, let's actually evaluate everything. So I'll take care of my multiplication, which negative 4 times negative 3 is positive 12, plus 2 times 5 times negative 3. I'll take care of this parenthesis first, one step at a time though, is negative 15 minus 6. And then negative 3 times positive 3 right here is a negative 9, which should equal negative 39. Again, parentheses, one step at a time. So I have this 12 plus 2, or excuse me, not plus 12. Now that plus 2, I can't make that a 14 because this is 2 times that whole quantity. So therefore, this is going to become a negative 21 because they are same sign, so I add and keep those. Minus 9 should equal negative 39. Now I can actually evaluate that and make it 12. And 2 times a negative 21 is a negative 42 minus 9 is equal to negative 39. And from here, I'm going to go from left to right, subtracting. So 12 minus 42, those are different signs, so therefore I know it's going to be a negative because the 42 is higher. And then 42 minus 12 is 30, minus another 9. Same sign, so I'm going to add them and keep that negative 39. And that's equal to negative 39, therefore we are correct. So go ahead, ladies and gentlemen, go through the form right now. Do the best you can. You'll have 2 problems to do for this work tonight.